Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what a day in the market. Finally got a red day. It's been so long. Matter of fact, we'll count the candles when we look at the chart of how long it's been since we actually had a red day on the S&P. And we're going to get into all the charts and stuff, earnings, all that good stuff, and this is jam-packed. So, I'm just going to get right into it. And I told you yesterday I would show you this, and this is the credit cards, right? MasterCard and Visa, I think the two most popular in my opinion, at least. And you can see, yeah, this is the latest data we got from the earnings call, and boy, this is in billions, by the way. Yeah, we're spending it up. I mean, look from 2021 to now. Surprisingly, Visa dipped a tad bit, but if you compare that, you can still see 2020, 2021 compared to now. Boy, we are racking up the miles. Let me tell you, I mean, people are getting those rewards and everything on there. Now, one thing I did want to pay attention to is this company right here, which I know nothing about, by the way, NXP. It is a semiconductor company. That's why I want to pay attention to it so much, because that sector has just ran up so much. It's insane. And they just reported earnings. They're down a little over 4% right now. And they actually did beat on top and bottom line. I guess the guidance might have come in a little bit soft. But I wanted to see how the market would react. And I don't think they've done their call yet. Also, we had Whirlpool come out. And a lot of people watch a company like that to see what they're going to say about demand, because it's one of those things like we're not going to be buying appliances if we just don't need them. And they actually, their guidance was actually higher than what people expect it to be. But then they also come out and said, hey, we can lose 2% of either revenue or profits, whatever, this year, because they said, you know, demand is probably going to be soft, right? And so that's something people do pay attention to when they're looking at the economic part of things and stuff. And so we'll see how that semiconductor stock looks tomorrow, because again, all those stocks have just been huge. Plus, we have AMD coming up tomorrow, which we'll get into. And the other big one is, you know, what's smart money and dumb money doing? Obviously, dumb money's us. And you can see we're still buying. And so, you know, that's the S&P. This is us right here. We're still buying. And it's at its highest level it's been since this bear market started, right? Actually, quite a bit more. And you can just see, obviously, when we reach these peaks, that's usually signals the top. Doesn't mean it's going to signal at this time at all. If this is, you know, something new, that won't be the case. But you can just see right there, and you can see what smart money been doing. They were basically just kind of sitting there waiting it out, and here they're taking some off the table. And if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. And if you're getting anything out of this, please hit the like and think about sharing the video, guys. And if you saw my video yesterday, you remember what are insiders doing at these companies. They've been selling at a higher rate than we've seen by a country mile since the bear market started. So we'll see. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how these two things play out. I put that in the Discord, you know, to see what smart money is doing, what insiders these companies are doing, because they know their earnings better than anybody and what's going to be coming out. And, you know, they're selling, right? And we're piling in. How's it going to end up? Usually it doesn't end up well. But again, we're going to have to see. That's just the way this is. Because if you look at the other bear market rallies and this one is a lot configured a lot different, even though a lot of people are expecting a lot more downside on this one. But the difference in this one and the other one was there was no kind of consolidation on the other ones. We just went straight up, basically straight down, straight up, straight down. This one we came up, came down, nope, traded back up, sideways. And so it will, in my opinion, of course, I mean, if you look at the chart, harder to go down at a rapid pace as you've done during these last ones. Don't mean it can't happen, right? It's all about what the firms want, what the market makers want. They want us to push it down. You're going to push us down. Nothing you can do about it. That's just the way it is. And if they want us to go up, we're going to go up. You know, the problem with this rally is what's been going up. It's been high beta, right? And so that's what's been going through the roof, for crying out loud. And so those go up so fast, and when something goes up really rapidly fast, what usually happens? It comes down just as fast. So, you know, that's what we're going to have to see. And that puts us into the chart. And let me know down there in the comments, you know, what you're doing. You buying, you selling, you just holding, or what? And, you know, if you look at the S&P, I mean, what's happening here? Let's just, you know, keep things in context. That's what I like to do at this channel. Look at all these green bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you scroll back, oh my God, we finally got a red day. If you scroll back, man, it's hard to find like 6 straight days. And those are some pretty big bars. Okay, and so it was a pretty big move up in that just 1 week's time frame. When you look at the earnings that were coming out, nobody was blown away by them at all. And everything that the market disconnected from, you know, in this area, see, do we get 6? No, no 6 there, no 6 there. And we're all the way back, where are we at right now? July. And so it's tough to get 6. I think you got 6 right there. It's just not a common thing for you get, you know, some red, for crying out loud. Eventually, you got to start selling off, consolidating, doing something. But, you know, if we come back over here, you can see obviously we're still above that trend line. You know, there's plenty of scenarios that can play out here, right above the big mark, sitting around 410, 411 right there, which was that double top. But we could easily come back down, test that trend line again, either break through it, and you got another trend line right below that. And that's what I mean when I'm saying I think people are just going to have expecting this waterfall of a fall down. Well, it's going to be harder this time. You didn't have any kind of support lines going up on these last rallies. This one you actually do, and you have a lot of bulls in this market now that are turning. You have some bears that have tapped out as well, and a lot of people just sitting there trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And so we could come back down, test the trend line, bounce around and get wedged up as I draw that trend line up right there. Just putting another wedge again. We trade in a range because again we moved up so much, and the big question is, what has been priced into whatever the Fed's going to do, these earnings, that's the question, because it's been a fast move up. And that's what you're always trying to figure out. Sometimes the market, it needs a breather to catch its breath, say, oh, okay, here we are at this level. What have we priced in here? What's going on, right? And this week is obviously huge amount of earnings coming out for the big boys and Apple and all them, which would definitely can move the market. And FOMC, right? I mean, we all know it's going to be 25 basis points. Will they shock us? Probably not. But, it's about what he says and what can he say, and the big thing is he's going to talk about a pivot, which I can't imagine he's going to do that. I expect he's going to come out hawkish, and then how's the market going to react to it, right? Last week, the market, when the dollar was strong, yields were up, the market totally disconnected and it kept going up. Today, the dollar was green, the yields were green, and the market actually somewhat reacted. But was it reacting to that? Or was it just taking a breather? You know what I'm saying? And people taking profits because they're up huge. That's why, right? Now, here's the kicker, of course. I always love to cover this, which, of course, is these magical force fields that exist on charts. When, like this morning, for example, we opened up, and for some reason, we just couldn't get above 405 area. The 406 was just rough. And why is that? Again, is it a magical force field that just won't allow it, or some magic that we don't know about? No, it's right here. What happened? As like I tell the members this morning, there's a 406 call there. If you get above that, it's 408, 410. Market makers ain't going to want that. These expire today, right? And then what happens? We go back to the chart. Magically, wow, we saw off all day and we hit this little spot right here and we start to rebound. Like, what happened at 400? I just don't understand this magic that we speak of. And if we go back, there it is. You got a 400 put wall sitting in place, right? They're like, why would we go below 400? Why would we do that? And there's your range, 431, 405, 13. And then I talked about this last week, and this is something to pay close attention to. This is that game within a game. These dark pools, right? These, will act as a magnet, and they will act as support and resistance. You saw that right there. You see a lot of 405s, a lot of 477s, and then if we keep scrolling through, you'll end up going down where you'll see some, they're like 433, things like that in the 400 to 401 range. And I'm talking about billions and billions of dollars worth of these orders, especially coming in last week. We didn't have a lot today. Coming in was like 376 million on the SPY. But end up having like 2 billion on Friday, 3 billion on Thursday. I mean, just a massive, this is what I'm talking about, the 400s, just a massive amount. And those will act as magnets. You just saw it on the chart. It came right up to it, boom, or reject off. And sometimes you'll have these option levels and these dark pools will line up together like this. And so I'd highly encourage you to learn about dark pools if you don't know anything about them. Again, I'm continuing to talk about them. And the Qs, if we go over that real quick, you can see what happened. We broke out of the chop box. All we're back in is right back in the chop box. That's what we're in. We were in it for months, and now we're back in it again, right? And if we go to the daily and add the RSI, you can see what happened. We're getting overbought. When you get overbought, that's going to happen. How far this goes down, we do not know. And so we'll have to see on that. That leads us into the stock that, believe it or not, and remember, there are thousands of stocks, right, that people buy options on. Here you got one stock. You know how much percentage on a daily basis this stock makes up of all options trades? 7%. One stock. That is enormous. Okay. And what is it, of course? I bet you can guess it. Hit it in the comments if you can. Tesla. I don't believe it. Well, of course, Tesla today. What do we talk about? Trying to get above that 180. What happened? Got rejected, right? This is on the daily. If we go into a smaller time frame, you can see these magical force field lines we put on here. Bam, right? And again, it just never was able to come back up. It tried, not happening, sold off the rest of the day. And you have to keep in mind, this stock sold off 75% from its all-time highs, and within 3 weeks, it has recovered 75% up just in 3 weeks, which is an insane freaking move, especially for a big cap stock, okay? And again, it's like the Qs. If we add the RSI, it was overbought, right? And if you look at this thing, which is kind of crazy, look at the trajectory of the RSI, right? I mean, that is a huge freaking move. Look at that volume. Normally, they don't go straight up like that. Normally, you see how long this one was drawn out? It took a while, and it barely moved up, right? Look at this thing, straight up. Okay, big difference. So of course, what are people doing? They're taking some profit. See, that's how it normally looks, and this is how this one looks, which is healthy, which is good, right? And I can tell you, I saw people, that I guess they do charts for a living for, big time investors, funds, that kind of stuff, and they were telling people, and this is the word yesterday. They said, if you're shorting, press it even more. If you don't have a position, short it. And if you're sitting there long, take some off or take a lot off or something like that. That was kind of where they were getting out to the bigger investors. And so people were taking off. 180 is a big level. It's moved up a lot, right? If you wrote it from 101, 103, wherever the bottom was right there, then that's huge. And congratulations, by the way, if you're taking profits. Now, earnings, of course, is loaded tomorrow. And I'm telling you, from the get-go, we got ExxonMobil, UPS, GM, Pfizer, Caterpillar, McDonald's, Spotify, 2 more oil companies, right? And I'm sure all the oil companies will be bragging about the money they're making, right? GM, we'll see if they'll cut costs, because what did Ford do? Ford announced this morning they were cutting costs just like Tesla, right? AMD, big semiconductor, that's going to tell us what's going on with semiconductors for sure. As you saw with NXP, I just talked about, in Whirlpool. Snap, I don't really care about, but I put on there anyway. And then a couple other stocks to pay attention to. And that leads me into the dollar here, and understand why I'm talking about the dollar. The dollar, obviously, I told you, had this death cross, and it's been going down ever since. And you can see when it has this death cross, for those who didn't see that video, it goes down. Pretty much anything goes down. It doesn't go straight down, right? It'll rally up, down, up, down. But as you can see, boom, absolutely tanks. And so you look back over, and the big thing to look out for, which hadn't happened yet, is that 200 moving average. And what I'm thinking about, let me go back to 08. I want to make sure there's only one death cross real quick. And yeah, there it is. Okay. So I want to make sure we just get one on this. And so, but when you look right here, the 200 hadn't rolled over. It's trying to flatten out. But when this turns, remember, this is the tanker, right? The oil rig. When this thing gets its momentum shifted downwards or upwards, it is hard to change it. And so if that starts pointing downward, you're going to see a big move in the dollar. And it might just head back down towards that trend line right there, which has been somewhat intact since 07. I mean, it broke down below it a little bit there in 2011, but for the most part, it could be heading down there, which is around 94. And the reason why I bring that up is because of all these big conglomerates that are going to be reporting earnings this week. Guess what? Google, your Apples, all these have, like Apple, I think 50% of the revenue is from overseas. So guess how much more they're going to get to put towards the bottom line when they convert that into American dollars, versus last year when they were getting crushed as the dollar was going up. They were getting hammered by that. Remember that? That was a headwind for them. Now it's not going to be so much a headwind. Okay, so the dollar's still a little higher than obviously it was in 2020 and 2021, but they're going to get to keep more, right? And so, and if the dollar keeps going down, that helps them. That's why I bring up the dollar. So keep that in mind. Right. Then, of course, what do we got going on? Economic news, right? Going to have the employment cost index quarter over quarter. People may care about that. Who knows? But it's all about the employment stuff. The biggest one is going to be Chicago PMI. People are definitely going to be paying attention to that. But nothing in there that should absolutely just rock the markets. And maybe the PMI does. I can't imagine it's going to do that or anything. But again, Wednesday's the days everybody's waiting for. But you do have earnings tomorrow. And I mean, they're all coming in a big mixed bag, right? I mean, what do we see happening? What's the theme? Margins are compressing, that's for sure. Bottom lines are hurting. Everybody's expecting to slow down for the most part. Certain sectors are not. But the biggest thing on semiconductors to listen for more than anything is, remember, they had this huge inventory, this slowdown. They had terrible supply chain issues. Most of those have somewhat gone away. We got to see how the inventory issue is and how the demand is. But the supply chains are pretty well fixed at this point in time. What people have been saying. Again, but that's going to be the big ones. That's just going to affect the whole sector. I don't care which stock it is. And you got a lot of them have just gone up so fast. NVIDIA has just gone to the moon, right? And so people could be taking some off the table before these companies report. That could happen, right? And again, we don't know what's priced in yet. We're not going to know until the market lets us know. That's just the way it is. I said the only thing you're going to see this week is the roller coaster. Ups and downs, ups and downs. That's just the way it is. So let me know what you're doing. I do want to thank you guys who searched for Mike Jones Investing in the search box in YouTube and clicked on the video and stuff. It absolutely helps with the algorithm change they made and stuff like that. So I really do appreciate it for those who did that. Thank you very much. For those who didn't, if you would like, it would be greatly appreciated. It really does help the channel out and push the video out and things like that. There was some YouTube algorithm change, and so that's been affecting everybody, so it is what it is. But I appreciate you guys so much, and I'm very grateful. So tomorrow will be another fun day. We'll have a lot of earnings that I should talk about, so I will end up seeing you guys tomorrow.